Good evening. You remember me. I am Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet, and it's my pleasure and my honor to address the CEASD this evening from my home in heaven, where I have resided since September the 10th, 1851. I made that journey when I was 63. Tonight, I would like to share with you some new information about me and my family, the history of our profession, and some of the remarkable personages who have shaped our profession and assured a future for our young charges. But please don't worry. I want to tell you what King Henry VIII told each of his 6 wives. I won't keep you long. I will begin with the Reverend Thomas Hooker, who sailed from England with his congregation to Cambridge, Massachusetts. I am a 7th-generation descendant of Mr. Hooker, a Congregationalist church minister, who moved with his flock from Cambridge to the Connecticut Valley in 1636 to found the city of Hartford. When he arrived in the area, there was only one white man living there, a Dutchman who had been trading with the Indians since 1614. He resented the newcomers, for when they arrived, they quietly but forcibly nudged him out. As he left, the irate Dutchman turned, shook his fist at them, and shouted at them, calling them Yankees, the ancient Dutch word for thieves. This word is no longer used in Holland, but in the United States, we still use the word, pronouncing it as Yankees. Another of Hooker's descendants became a general in the Union Army during the Civil War. General Hooker was a liberal, ahead of his time. He allowed women of easy virtue to follow his troops into battle. The ladies became known as Hooker's women, and later, hookers. If there had been a crossing of the branches in my family tree, those women might have been called Gallaudets today, and I, King Jordan, would be president of Hooker University. I was born in Philadelphia, December the 10th, 1787, just a few months after the tortuous tropical summer when the new Congress debated, argued, and suffered the intense heat while applying the final adjustments to the Constitution for our young nation. My father was an engraver, making his living by engraving the currency for the 13 colonies. He knew that when the colonies had ratified the Constitution in the months following my birth, he would no longer have 13 customers. He would have only one. So he gave up his business to become the confidential secretary for our new president, George Washington. Before the federal government moved to New York City, Washington occupied the headmaster's office of Philadelphia's Germantown Academy. Today, our own Joe Fishgrind occupies that same office in the same building, now the headmaster's office of the Pennsylvania School for the Deaf. My family moved back to Hartford. I graduated from Yale College in 1805 at the age of 17 years. I tried banking, reading the law, even working as a traveling salesman. Before it had a school for the deaf, I even visited the small town of Danville, Kentucky. Finally, I decided I was destined to become a clergyman in the Congregational Church. As a student at Andover Seminary, I was recovering at home from a chronic illness when I met my neighbor's deaf 10-year-old daughter, Alice Cogswell, and, without realizing its significance, taught her to write the word hat. May 15, 1815, several months after I had met little Alice, I had decided to collaborate with the citizens of Hartford to establish a school for deaf children. I left for Liverpool aboard the Mexico to study the Braidwood family's methods of teaching the deaf. A fellow passenger was Washington Irving, who was bound for England to check on his family's hardware business, fearing that the British may have seized his business during the War of 1812. For Irving, the trip began just 3 weeks after he had celebrated his 26th birthday, and 4 years before he would write Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I was very disillusioned in England because the British were still bitter about losing the War of 1812 to the Americans. The Braidwood family, also bitter, tried to make a profit from me by charging an exorbitant amount of money to train me in their craft and trying to impose a per capita charge on every American child who would be taught by the Braidwood method. I decided to leave England and sail for France to study at the French School for the Deaf in Paris. What a wonderful experience. My family originally came from France. We were Huguenots, French Protestants. I met the Abbé Sicard, the head of the French school, and 2 of his deaf teachers, Jean Massieu and Laurent Claire. As my funds gradually depleted, I realized I had to return to America. I was not totally educated in my new profession. In America, I would need the support and mentorship of a veteran teacher. I invited Claire to return with me. To my delight, he accepted. And in 1816, on Win McChord's birthday, August the 9th, we arrived in New York. I'm correct, am I not, Win, that you were born on August the 9th? But you weren't born in 1816. You know, Win, I hadn't realized until tonight what a handsome man you are. You are easily the second handsomest man in this room tonight. You're welcome. And on April 15, 1817, the American Asylum, the first school for the deaf in the New World, was founded, and Alice Cogswell was the first student to enroll. 188 years have passed since that important day, and a great many things have happened affecting our profession. Today, in 2005, in a society absorbed with children's obesity, I understand that a number of states have required that each child's body mass index, BMI, be entered on his report card, along with his grades. But of course, this agrees with the new federal initiative, No Child Left with a Behind.